Well, honestly, the American left is now so radical that it seems even a trained reporter can't tell the difference between what's real and what's parody. Alex Strenger, an American comedian, found that out at the Democratic convention when he talked as a Democrat supporter to a reporter he says was from Britain's BBC and apparently didn't realise he was being trolled or fooled.
My name is Noah Shorts. I use he, they pronouns. I'm just really excited that we have the first black woman that could be the president of the United States. And my wife, right? We're in a polyamorous relationship. The lover that my wife took is African American, and I've learned so much about the struggle that people of color go through.
It went on and on. Now, I'm actually not convinced that was a BBC reporter's thought. The accent seemed American. But let's see what our panel thinks. James McPherson from The Late Debate here on Sky News, and Evelyn Ray, farmer, former policeman, Sky News regular. James, how beautiful was that? Even if I'm not convinced it was entirely what that comedian said it was.
Andrew, if trolling was an Olympic sport, he would be a gold medal winner for sure. It was absolutely brilliant, and I loved his attention to detail. Even the face mask on the edge of his chin perfectly encapsulates the progressive left. If you watch the rest of the interview, he goes on to tell the BBC reporter that America was founded on diversity, equity and inclusion, and then he praises Kamala's plan to cap food prices because he says that will lead to food shortages, which will lead to food rationing, which will lead to equity for everybody in America. And the interviewer couldn't be blamed for being confused because the Democrats are so crazy. Who would know what's real and what's not? I mean, they've been advertising free abortions, free vasectomies. They've got people announcing their pronouns before they announce their nomination of Kamala Harris. The whole thing is a complete clown show, and I take great empathy for the BBC reporter trying to work out what's what. I can't blame him for being confused.
Except in this world, I don't even know if it really was a BBC reporter or whether it was a setup. I have no idea. But that's the whole thing, Evelyn. The world is so crazy, it's getting so hard to distinguish fact from made-up fiction.
It's been said that reality will kill satire, and we are witnessing the murder of it playing out right before our own eyes. Every time I see something like this, I double, triple check that there's not some watermark on there from the Babylon Bee or some either, comedian, because it's just so hard to know whether something is real or fake. I know we already know that there are some undercover conservatives in at this particular convention. So, buckle up. We are going to see some cinematic experiences coming from the clown show. All I can say is thank God stupidity can't sustain itself, because sooner or later, this delusional reality that these sorts have made up will start to crumble. Their worlds will fall. Reality will start knocking on the door, and satire will finally make a comeback. And boy, do I look forward to those days.
Evelyn, you're so young, you can still be optimistic. I've been waiting for that moment for 20 years. I suspect I may never find that. And just in case Kel Richards is watching, yes, I know what I said. Made-up fiction is a tautology. You won't have to tell me on the show, on Peter's show next week. But to the real speeches, James, on day 3 of the Democratic Convention, which ends tomorrow with Vice President Kamala Harris finally giving her speech, maybe finally giving some policies, we can only hope. Today there were wall-to-wall attacks again on Donald Trump, like this from media megastar Oprah Winfrey, who seems to think the most important thing about Kamala Harris, is the ethnicity of her parents.
Soon and very soon, we're going to be teaching our daughters and sons about how this child of an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, two idealistic, energetic immigrants, how this child grew up to become the 47th president of the United States. Let's all choose Kamala Harris.
James, the race card has been played so often at this convention, hasn't it?
I liked Oprah Winfrey better when she was giving away cars, Andrew. On the Trump issue, someone spent the day watching the DNC and they said Trump was referred to 147 times directly from stage. Do you know how many times the southern border was mentioned at the convention? 3 times. So 147 mentions of Trump,
wow.
Just 3 mentions of the southern border, which is their biggest problem. The race card is played continually because this is what the progressive left do. They divide the population into identity groups, and then they tell each of those groups just how oppressed they are, fomenting all sorts of grievances, and then promise that if you elect us, we'll be the ones to save you. The sleight of hand, Andrew, is that you can never actually help the identity groups that you promise to help, because the moment you help them, then there's no reason for them to re-elect you. So the Democrats don't care about blacks or immigrants or Indians or anyone else. They stoke grievance in order to gain power. It's very cynical, and they leave the country broken and divided. They don't care. They just want power.
It's so interesting, Evelyn. Look, I don't know whether I'm supposed to notice this, but I have to say that Oprah Winfrey is a walking testimony to the Ozempic that she says she takes. But she's also a walking testimony to things do work. I mean, I find it weird. At this convention, you've had one of America's most admired and influential and wealthiest women, Oprah Winfrey, black. You've had Barack Obama give a fantastic speech, I have to admit. Black, a former president. He rose to the very top. You've had all sorts of successful black people, and yet you still get this politics of identity and grievance. Why not a celebration instead?
Exactly. I mean, we already know that there's been a black president, that all of these things are just empty. And like James said, they don't care. They just want power. And the easiest way to get that power is to, you know, get these little identity politics out there and, you know, try and sell it that way. Because what else are these people going to do to sell Kamala? Like, let's be honest, she hit only a 28% approval rating, the lowest ever of any vice president, lower than Joe Biden himself when he was vice president. You know, they can't sell her based on what she's done in politics because, let's face it, up until 5 minutes ago, even the Democratic Party couldn't stand her. They can't sell her based on her career prior to politics because the Democrats hated her in that position. They can't sell her as a family person because she's intentionally childless and she's proud of that and an advocate for late-term abortions. So what can they do? They have to sell her based on something that she hasn't had to work for, something that she's literally born with, a uterus and a skin color. And that's what they're going for because she can't stuff that one up like she has basically everything else. But I don't understand why women and black people aren't more offended at the patronizing nature of how they're trying to sell the vote. Oh, you have a uterus? So do I. You should vote for Kamala Harris. Oh, you have black skin? So do I. You should vote for Kamala Harris. I mean, surely by now, the political class of America deserve better.
That's sure getting it said. Evelyn Ray, James McPherson, thank you so much to you both.